You wake up, reach for your phone, and before your feet touch the ground, you've already seen 10 opinions, 5 headlines, and 3 notifications telling you what matters today. You scroll, skim, react, move on. You feel informed, connected, certain, but something quiet inside you fades. That subtle pause before believing. That old instinct to ask, is this true? Slowly, almost imperceptibly, your ability to think deeply, to question, to reason, begins to die. And the most dangerous part is, it doesn't feel like death. It feels like convenience. We live in an age where truth has become optional, and convenience has taken its place. Information no longer travels through minds. It flows through algorithms. The easier something is to consume, the truer it feels. The easier something is to share, the more valid it seems. In a world built to make everything instant, thinking has become a burden. And in that quiet trade between effort and ease, reason quietly suffocates. Our ancestors once gathered in open squares, debated ideas, challenged authority, sought wisdom. Now we gather in feeds, where the loudest voice wins and the fastest reaction counts as knowledge. The attention economy has replaced the pursuit of truth with the pursuit of engagement. Platforms no longer ask what's right. They ask what's clickable. And the tragedy is, the human brain is perfectly wired to obey. There's a principle in psychology called cognitive ease. It means that the easier something is to process, the more likely we are to believe it. If the words are clear, if the rhythm feels familiar, if it fits the story we already hold, it feels right. That's why slogans work better than studies, why rumors spread faster than reports, and why headlines often live longer than the articles beneath them. Cognitive ease rewards fluency, not accuracy. It tells us, if it feels easy, it must be true. One of the most revealing experiments on this was done by psychologist Norbert Schwartz. He asked participants to judge statements like, "The Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean on Earth." When printed in a clear, legible font, people rated the statements as more truthful than when they were printed in a hard-to-read typeface. The only difference was appearance. Truth, it seemed, could be manipulated by typography. The mind confuses familiarity with fact. It is not logic that convinces us, but comfort. Now imagine that mechanism multiplied billions of times a day, by every image, video, and headline designed to slide effortlessly into your feed. The entire digital ecosystem is engineered around cognitive ease. It rewards what's instantly understandable and punishes what requires patience. In this system, the complex dies young, the nuanced is ignored, and what survives is not truth, but what feels true. There's another experiment, less famous but deeply haunting. In 2018, researchers at MIT analyzed how true and false news spread on Twitter. They discovered that false stories were 70% more likely to be retweeted than true ones, and that they reach people 6 times faster. Why? Because false stories are crafted for emotional impact, not accuracy. They shock, they amuse, they flatter. They require no thought, only reaction. In the attention economy, emotion is currency and reason doesn't sell. But this decay of thinking isn't just a side effect of technology. It's a design. Every system we touch is optimized for convenience. Autoplay keeps you watching. Recommendations keep you scrolling. Instant search finishes your question before you've even formed it. The machine anticipates your thoughts and feeds them back to you, wrapped in familiarity. You don't need to explore. You don't need to doubt. Everything you might question is already answered, instantly, painlessly. And that is how intelligence erodes, not by suppression, but by comfort. The philosopher Hannah Arendt once warned that the greatest threat to freedom is not tyranny, but thoughtlessness. She saw that people don't become complicit in falsehood through malice, but through indifference. When thinking is outsourced, responsibility follows. We no longer decide what to believe. We simply choose which feed to trust. Convenience becomes ideology. Ease becomes belief. You can feel it everywhere. in the news we consume, in the conversations we avoid, in the way every argument ends with a meme. The world rewards certainty over curiosity, volume over reasoning, and speed over depth. The person who pauses to verify is seen as slow, outdated, maybe even naive. The person who reacts quickly is rewarded with likes, followers, validation. We have built a culture that prizes reaction and punishes reflection. There's a simple metaphor that explains this collapse. Imagine two people running a race. One is thoughtful and cautious, weighing each step. The other sprints without looking, chasing momentum. In the digital age, the reckless runner always wins because the race rewards speed, not endurance. Truth is slow, lies are fast, and algorithms feed the faster one. Philosophically, this is not new. Socrates warned Athens that unexamined beliefs lead to moral decay. He believed that wisdom begins in doubt, that questioning is the foundation of freedom. But today, doubt has become a social sin. We are expected to have instant opinions on everything, from politics to pop culture. The courage to say, "I don't know," has vanished, and so we replace knowledge with noise. Economically, this makes perfect sense. The attention economy depends on frictionless flow. If people stop to think, the system loses profit. Slowness is unmonetizable. The design of modern media isn't evil. It's efficient. But efficiency without ethics becomes manipulation. When every click is profit, the system has no incentive to tell you the truth. It only needs to keep you scrolling. Let's take a simple, relatable moment. You're sitting at lunch, scrolling your feed. You see a short video explaining why some grand conspiracy is real. It's edited well, narrated with confidence, and matches what you already suspected. You nod, maybe share it. It feels good, but you never check the source, never look at the data, never ask the question, could I be wrong? That single micro decision, repeated millions of times a day, becomes a collective illusion. The truth is not lost in battle. It dies of neglect. There's another layer to this problem, a psychological one. Humans have what's called the confirmation bias. We notice information that agrees with our beliefs and ignore what doesn't. The more comfortable the narrative, the more persuasive it feels. Over time, our feeds, our circles, our thoughts become echo chambers. We stop being seekers of truth and become defenders of convenience. The mind becomes a mirror, not a window. In ancient China, the philosopher Zhuangzi once told a parable. A frog lived its whole life at the bottom of a well. When a sea turtle visited and described the vast ocean, the frog laughed. It couldn't imagine water beyond its small world. That is what convenience has done to us. It has built comfortable wells and called them oceans. We swim in shallow certainty, unaware of the depth we've lost. Science gives us more clues. Neuroscientists studying attention found that the human brain rewards instant feedback with dopamine, the same chemical linked to addiction. Every like, every notification, every refresh creates a small hit of pleasure. Over time, this rewires the brain to seek more of the same. Critical thinking, which demands patience and discomfort, becomes less appealing. Our biology now colludes with our devices to keep us comfortably uninformed. And the cost of this is not abstract. It shapes elections, economies, even wars. When a population loses the habit of verification, manipulation becomes easy. When people no longer question narratives, power can disguise itself as truth. The modern world doesn't need censorship to control thought. It only needs to flood us with noise until silence itself feels uncomfortable. But there is hope, and it begins with awareness. Just as systems are designed to exploit attention, they can be redesigned to protect it. Experiments have shown that adding a simple pause before sharing, even a few seconds, reduces misinformation significantly. When people are asked, "Have you read this article before sharing?" they think twice. Small friction restores thinking, and we, as individuals, can reclaim our agency. We can choose to read slowly, to doubt softly, to verify before we react. We can make curiosity fashionable again. We can make nuance a virtue. we can remember that knowledge is not what comes fastest, but what endures longest. The philosopher Epictetus said, "It's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." That's the silent tragedy of convenience. It convinces us that we already know enough, that reflection is optional. But the truth is, every moment we choose comfort over curiosity, we drift further from understanding. So maybe the antidote is not to reject technology, but to reintroduce discipline, to bring back the pause, to give attention its dignity. Because attention is not just what you look at, it's what you live through. As the night quiets, remember this: the death of critical thinking is not the end of intelligence, it is the end of patience, and the revival of patience is the beginning of wisdom. Curiosity over certainty, evidence before emotion, reflection before reaction. Because if truth becomes a matter of convenience, then who will bother to seek it when it's no longer easy to find?